Hello, welcome to Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Harrison-Pless. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, defiant and refusing to budge. Gambia's longtime leader, Yahya Jammeh, still not accepting his defeat in the recent presidential vote. This despite a West African mediation delegation pressing him to give up his 22-year grip on power. Ordered off the picket line and back to work. The court in Kenya declares an ongoing strike by the country's doctors and nurses illegal. And vulnerable targets for human traffickers. Our correspondents look at the worrying situation for African refugees sent away from Israel and who end up stuck in limbo in Rwanda or Uganda. But first up, clinging on to power and refusing to bow to pressure. A group of West African leaders are trying to persuade Gambia's President Yahya Jammeh to step down and accept his defeat in the country's recent presidential vote, an election he lost to opposition rival Adama Barrow. But after meeting with the mediation delegation, no deal has been reached to end the spiralling political crisis. It comes as Gambia's ruling APRC party filed a petition with the Supreme Court to challenge the election results, and as security forces reportedly seized the headquarters of the country's electoral commission. Well, for more on this story, let's bring in freelance Gambian journalist Sheriff Bojang Jr., who's in Dakar for us. Sheriff, a very good evening to you. What's the latest?
Rachel, what's the latest is that as I speak to you right now, the four ECOWAS heads of state led by President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia are meeting with President Yahya Jammeh in Banjul, the capital, at the presidential palace. Now, this will be the second time in 24 hours that they are meeting with the sit-tight leader. They met him in the morning when they arrived in the country, and that was followed by a separate closed-door meeting with President-elect Adama Barrow. Now, it's not clear what they specifically discussed with both camps, as the leaders wouldn't talk to the press yet about what has been discussed and what Jammeh's reaction is. But then the third party that the ECOWAS leaders met is the chairman of the Electoral Commission, the Independent Electoral Commission, who after the meeting told the media that his meeting with these four leaders is that he told them the election results stand, and he stand by the election result. Before this meeting, there was a lot of, especially this morning, there was a lot of expectation that the breakthrough would happen. This will be the end of this political deadlock, but then it doesn't look like it. And as you've said there, we've seen over the past 24 hours, a lot of things happen in the Gambia. Electoral Commission chairman and his staff evicted from the headquarters of the commission. We've also seen the APRC, the ruling party, filing in their petition at the Supreme Court, which does not exist in per se. And all these things put together, connect them, and President Jammeh is not giving in to the popular demand that he should relinquish power to the elected leader, Adama Barrow. And it's interesting to note that, too, since in the morning, over the past 24 hours, we've gotten a lot of pressure from the Teachers Union, Gambia Teachers Union, Youth Parliament, followed by the Bar Association, all piling pressure on President Jammeh to relinquish power. But it doesn't look like this is going to be an easy way out for anybody.
As you said there, Sheriff, a lot of pressure coming from all sides on Jammeh to step aside. What could happen if he refuses to step down? What's next?
I think what is evident is that military action will have to take place. With ECOWAS, one of the senior ECOWAS officials told an international media that he's not ruling out military intervention. But according to this official, they want to give peace and diplomacy a chance. They want to discuss. They want to take diplomacy to both President Jammeh and the opposition coalition camp and the incoming government. So what is going to happen is that, as we expect, there is not going to be any, breakthrough here. And once these ECOWAS leaders, leave the country, we expect them to discuss all night. And once they leave the country without a solution, then we can expect the next step would be military action. Already, we've seen Senegal piling pressure on the Gambia, which is Gambia's next door neighbor. President Macky Sall and his administration piling pressure on the Gambia, warning the foreign minister of Senegal, Mankeur Ndiaye, warning the Gambian government that this is the last chance. They should embrace this diplomacy And in that failing, then we expect that Gambia is going to be under serious problem because there is going to be military intervention to make sure that President Jammeh relinquishes power and give power to the elected leader of the Gambia, who is Adama Barrow.
OK, Sheriff, thank you very much for following that story for us. Sheriff Bojang Jr. reporting there. Next, striking doctors and nurses in Kenya have been ordered to leave their picket lines and go back to work immediately. This after the country's Labour Relations Court declared the walkout illegal. The strike, which began more than a week ago, has brought many of Kenya's public hospitals to a standstill. With medical services paralysed, the industrial action reportedly led to the deaths of around 20 people. The striking healthcare workers are embroiled in a dispute over pay and are demanding the government to honour a CBA or collective bargaining agreement signed with the government back in 2013. Take a listen.
The courts are simply mouths of the government, and this time around we want to tell them that this is not between doctors and the courts. In fact, we have absolutely no problem with the courts. We respect our judges, we respect the courts, but this one, the government must implement the CBA. They must. There is absolutely no option.
Algeria accused of police brutality. The Malian government and Amnesty International are calling for a probe into allegations of a violent crackdown against Malian migrants in Algiers. Algerian authorities last week expelled some 260 Malians who've since arrived back in Bamako. But they say Algerian security forces took the operation too far. Laurent Berstecker has more.
Exhausted and disillusioned, these Malians are back where they started.
There are 266 people who came from Algeria via Niger, Burkina Faso and now Bamako.
Youssouf Doumbia was arrested on December 1st in Algiers, and he still doesn't know why.
We asked the army people why they arrested us. They said they were taking us to get vaccinated.
After spending a week in a transit camp, the migrants were rounded up and sent back to Bamako. Many are denouncing the inhumane conditions of their transfer, saying they were beaten and robbed by Algerian security forces. Some even carried the allegations further, claiming several people died during the trip.
They mistreated us. They used violence. They hit people and broke their cell phones.
Malian authorities deplored the ill treatment of migrants and demanded an official probe into the allegations.
We asked for an investigation into these alleged deaths in order to confirm or deny this information.
A request that was echoed by Amnesty International and the Malian Human Rights Association. Algerian authorities have so far declined to comment on the accusations.
Stuck in limbo, thousands of Sudanese and Eritrean refugees in Israel are being shown the way out. The Israeli government is handing out $3,500 and a one-way plane ticket to Rwanda or Uganda. But there's no formal agreement with either of these countries. As our correspondents report, their misery also makes them easy prey for people smugglers.
Eritreans keep a low profile here in Uganda's capital, Kampala. This man, who we'll call Daniel, has agreed to talk if we hide his identity. Upon fleeing Eritrea as a dissident in 2009, Daniel headed for Israel. But after 5 years there, the government tightened its refugee rules. It gave him 3 choices: prison in Israel, return to Eritrea, or settle in a third country.
I didn't have a choice, that's why I decided to go to Rwanda. They gave me a plane ticket to Kigali and $3,500 in cash.
But, he says, Rwanda did not provide the welcome promised by Israel.
We were 14 Eritreans on the plane. On arrival, we were told that we couldn't stay in Rwanda. We were taken by bus, then we had to pay a smuggler. We walked 40 minutes and then a small vehicle led us to Kampala.
Daniel's case isn't isolated. There could be up to 3,000 like him. After arriving in Uganda via Rwanda, many of these Eritreans have spent their nest egg and find themselves without papers.
Not only are they struggling with issues that everybody who is deported from Israel faces, but also they are illegal because they have entered the country across the border illegally. Rwanda has recently acknowledged that they have had discussions with Israel, but that the deal has not been signed. But the Ugandan government have consistently denied that any such deal exists.
According to refugee rights, Eritreans continue to arrive. Without a job or prospects here in Uganda, Daniel, like many others, plans once again to flee, this time to Europe.
I'll be back in around 45 minutes with more Eye on Africa. Stay with us, more news coming up.